Hello Guelph, Mayor Cam Guthrie here. It is March the 6th and we just finished our Committee of the Whole meeting. It started at 1:30 and it is now just after 9, so it was a long one. But that's okay, made up for some of the shorter ones in the previous couple of times. So it was jam-packed with a lot of stuff. So no more from me bantering on with my introduction. Let's get right into what we talked about today. So on the agenda, we had a closed meeting where we are allowed to go into a closed session, basically a private session under the Municipal Act, and we talked about two items. The first being public appointments to various advisory committees. And they were the Downtown Advisory Committee, Guelph Museums Advisory Committee, River Systems Advisory Committee, River Systems Advisory Committee, and Water Conservation and Efficiency Public Advisory Committee. The second item that we went on was the Hanlon Creek Business Park, and that was about development options. Direction was given on both of those items in closed session. And then we came out to the open session, and we had lots on the agenda. Again, I'm going to dive right in here. So under the corporate services, which is Chair McKinnon, we had only one report, which was the non-application of the Line Fences Act. And so this is a very, very old, basically, policy or bylaw that we have in the city of Guelph. It does not affect us at all within the municipality anymore, and so staff have basically brought it forward to say, you know what, we can kind of take this off the books now. We don't really need to have council worrying about this particular part anymore. That passed unanimously. Then for the rest of the hours of the rest of the meeting, we had the infrastructure development and enterprise reports, and that was done through Chair Gibson. So we started off with the sidewalk needs assessment update. Now that was really good. Now look, I said this at the committee today. This term of council has really done a great job in addressing, as I said tonight, looking at municipal tax dollars going to municipal issues. And one municipal issue is sidewalks. And this council has done a really good job on funding the backlog of repairs that have been needed dearly on sidewalks. And now we're looking at this policy today, which has to do with actually getting the gaps that are throughout the city addressed with sidewalks. And so that we had a good talk about that. Lots of councillors said, well, what about this street and what about that street in my ward, which I don't blame them for saying because they're trying to represent their area. So council approved that unanimously. Then we moved on to sign bylaw variance for 158 Clare Road East, and also another sign bylaw variance for 84-202 Clare Road East. Those passed unanimously. We had the annual and summary water services report for 2016. Really, really good read. Our water services staff are excellent at what they do day in and day out, but this annual report is really good. You might want to check that out if you have some time just to see everything that's happening about our water in the city. That passed unanimously. Then we had our Natural Heritage Action Plan project initiation. We had a pretty long debate and discussion about that, making sure that we're moving forward quickly enough on this. Also making sure that it wasn't, I was asking me personally about making sure that it wasn't going to cut into some of the workload and projects that are already on the books for staff. We were assured that it would not. Also there's going to be a ton of engagement both internally on this Natural Heritage Action Plan, but also externally too, with citizens, the development community that can be a part of this project. That passed unanimously as well. Then we went into the Transportation Master Plan. Now this took a long time, but rightly so in my view. The last time that this was brought forward was 2005. So what we're doing now is we're setting the framework, or what's called the terms of reference, for a consultant that will be a part of about an 18 to 24 month period of doing the transportation master update for the whole city, and this will include active transportation and looking at more walking and cycling and transit, but of course it was very clear that it's also a balanced approach to also the vehicular traffic. But even just with the vehicular traffic as well, we have to remember that with technology coming as well, e-cars and autonomous vehicles and things like that, we have to think kind of far into the future, and that's what this master plan for transportation will do. Now, there was a little bit of some debate and back and forth tonight around, I brought forward a motion to look at exploring whether or not Stone Road, so for those of you that know Stone Road, it dead ends. But originally, way back in the day, Stone Road was supposed to extend all the way across and hook up with Elmira Road. And that was taken out of the official plan for Guelph several years ago. Also, what was taken out of the official plan was extending Woodlawn, where it also dead ends, up through into Watson. So I brought forward a motion for staff to explore those opportunities, both the Stone Road and the Woodlawn Road. But through discussion with both staff and with council making some good points, I actually withdrew my motion. At this time, staff are going to get back to myself and all of council with some updates on some processes of moving forward if we want to consider exploring those options, perhaps for the end of the month. And so I may very well bring it back up at the end of the month, but we will kind of find out whether the transportation master plan update is the right spot for this discussion, or maybe an official plan update is the right spot for this, and that's what staff are going to get back to us on. That then passed unanimously as well. Okay, keep it going here. Pedestrian crossing treatments, update to the Ontario Traffic Manual. So I'm going to throw up some pictures here. This kind of shows you what some new type of pedestrian crossings might be, usually where there's 60-kilometer and under type of streets in Guelph. That don't then require the whole, stoplights installed on roads. That it's basically 3 different categories of types of pedestrian crossings that can be installed. That passed unanimously by council. Then we went on to the delegation of authority for infrastructure, development, and enterprise services. So this had to do with basically council giving delegated authority over to staff with, of course, certain parameters and accountability and transparency, all of that embedded, to allow them to do some things like what was one? Well, a sign bylaw actually was discussed in this that was recommended, but actually Councillor Piper made a motion to have us do a complete sign bylaw review first, which is apparently coming over the next year or so. And then out of that fulsome review, we would allow delegated authority to staff. So that part was kind of pulled out a little bit. That passed unanimously. And then the other parts had to do with demolition of homes, giving delegated authority to staff on that. And the one that had a little bit of a debate was the threshold of contracts that are over $1.5 million. And that, I think, was a 8-4 vote. So a few councillors voted against it. Maybe they'll change their mind, I don't know, by the end of the month. But in my view, I voted for it. It's because anything that's over that amount, we already discussed a fulsome discussion during the budget process. Most of all of those types of projects are all road work anyways. And it also, we have the project management office now in place that has never been in place before. We post all of the large projects that would be over that amount, large capital projects, transparently online now, which hasn't been done before. And staff are going to be bringing a report back to us annually about what they did within that delegated authority. So the way I viewed it and what I said tonight was, hey, you know what, for this year, we'll do it sort of like a pilot project. That's the way I'm viewing it. That's my opinion. We're going to give you this delegated authority. you have all those accountability triggers in place, and we recognize that, and we'll let you move ahead with it. Now, one of the benefits to me and to many others as to why that was a good idea is because it will save 3 to 4 weeks in administrative work in delaying construction projects to start within the city. And so I felt that it was important for, you know, I think we can all agree that trying to get construction projects and development stuff done quicker in the city is always a good thing. So that passed, I think it was 8-4 was the vote on that one. Okay, then we had some outstanding motions of Committee of the Whole for Infrastructure, Development, and Enterprise. That passed unanimously. They were just some old motions that are either being addressed, have been addressed, or did not apply anymore. And then we had 2 special resolutions. The first one was from Councillor Wettstein, that staff be directed to review, analyze, and bring forward a recommendation updating the striking committee policies, processes, and remuneration and reporting of expenses, and that staff report back to the Committee of the Whole by the end of this year, Q4 2017. There was, that was a unanimous vote. And then the big one and the final one tonight was Councillor Gibson's East End commercial motion. Now, if you'll recall, in my last video, I talked about how there's 3 stages to this. The first stage is basically only within council to debate and discuss whether or not there's validity to move it to stage 2. Tonight was stage 2. And after probably an hour of back and forth discussion on it, it passed unanimously. There was 2 motions. The first one passed unanimously. The second one passed with only 1 councillor voting against, so it still passed. And it sent a really strong message that the East End is dearly important to this council, and we're sending a strong message that you guys need commercial development out there. It has been way too long. It's unacceptable, and as a council, we sent a strong message that East End deserves the commercial amenities that every other node has in this city, and frankly, it's taking way too long. And so I'm very proud that council basically unanimously in that first part voted to send that strong message. Then that was it. That was it. Oh, and then my notice of motion, which was just here, just to be brought forward sort of publicly tonight, not discussed. And that was, what's the title of my motion? I have to read it here. Surplus Asset Sales Policy. And so I'll put that up on the screen here and you can read that. And that's coming forward. So that's it. My goodness. Normally my videos are about 5 to 6 minutes. This one's almost 13 minutes long. If you've stuck with me, I appreciate it. And as usual, if you have any questions or comments, I am more than happy to help. And so on the next screen is my email and Twitter. Have a wonderful night, and I'll see you next time.